Welcome to Travel Tuesday with Teresa, the ultimate source of wanderlust inspiration. Join the journey led by your host, Teresa Belcher, founder of Honeymoon Islands.
Hi, welcome to Travel Tuesday with Teresa. I'm your host, Teresa Belcher, founder of Honeymoon Islands. And today I'm excited because we're featuring family Coppola resorts, and they're located throughout Italy and Belize, Guatemala. And my guest host today is Christine Gazzadenzi. Did I pronounce that right? Gazzadenzi. Okay, sorry. I'm sorry to butcher that. But anyway, welcome to the show, Christine.
Thank you so much, Teresa. Nice to be with you on a
Oh,
rainy day in San Francisco. And
you're in San Fran.
yeah, and it's nice when there's rain outside to talk about resorts.
Exactly. I mean, we all have that travel lust in us and we all want to go somewhere exciting. And you've got some exciting resorts. Many, many years ago, probably 20 years ago, I was in Belize visiting Blancaneaux and Turtle End, and they had just opened. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see anything new, and you guys have expanded all over. So I'm looking forward to hearing your presentation. So you're welcome to share your screen now.
Great. I will start sharing my screen and we will get into the story, since I work for, as I remind everybody, a great storyteller. I have the amazing privilege of working. Are you seeing my screen, by the way?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Of working for a family of artists. Many people know Francis Ford Coppola as a film director, but not everyone knows. Basically, everyone in his family is an artist. You might know of his daughter, Sofia Coppola, who's a film director, his wife, who's a documentary filmmaker, his son, who is a film director partnering on a lot of projects with Wes Anderson. Why does that matter? You'll learn throughout the presentation. It's because the family is very involved in this intimate collection of hideaways that they have in Belize, Argentina, Guatemala, and southern Italy. This isn't something they just license their name on. In fact, it is something they're personally involved in. This is a direct quote from Francis himself. The hotels are the opposite of The Godfather. It's not business, it's personal. They're not into having hideaways for commercial success. They have these hideaways because they are places where they hide away personally as family members. They meet at Turtle Inn often over the new year, taking several of the villas and spending time together. And every single detail at each of these hideaways was curated by the Coppola family to their liking, to ensure that the local culture is reflected, that you're celebrating nature in these destinations. So we're going to start where they started, which is in Belize. I often refer to Francis as the accidental hotelier because he discovered Blancaneaux Lodge. You'll see here in the center of the map, that triangle right in the middle, up on a mountainside in Belize in an area known as the Cayo District. Why would he go see this lodge? What would be his interest in Belize? He shot Apocalypse Now in the Philippines and fell absolutely in love with being on set there, with the location, with the locals, with the flora, the fauna, the verdant nature of the location, and intended to buy an island in the Philippines. And his wife said, no, you've just bought a winery in Napa. You're barely a winemaker yet. Let's not complicate our lives. We live in California and Philippines is pretty far away. So in 1981, when Belize became independent, he went there with his son, discovered Blancaneaux Lodge up on this mountaintop, bought it on site with the intention of kind of glamping there with his family and writing films. Absolutely no intention of being in the hotel business. And over the years, because he kept adding more services and amenities for his liking, whether it's a pizza oven or an espresso maker, and because it is so close to these fabulous Mayan ruins, visitors wanted to come. So before you knew it, 30 years ago, this year, he was in the hotel business with Blancaneaux Lodge. Quickly, he added a seafront companion, Turtle Inn, and we'll discuss this a little bit later in a few more slides, which is about a 3-hour drive from Blancaneaux, because folks want to get in the water when they're in Belize. This is the second largest barrier reef in the world, following Australia. and known for snorkeling and diving. So we're fortunate to have 2 locations in one country that allow a traveler to experience the inland adventures as well as the sea adventures, all within the Coppola family of collection of hotels. In terms of what's new, we'll talk later in the presentation. You'll see a little piece of coral down here. That's our private island in Belize. So that rounds out our 3 beautiful offerings in that country. And then just over the border is La Lancha, our 10-room lodge near to perhaps the greatest Mayan ruin in the world, Tikal. Just to let you know, you can do all of these, stay at all 3. And if you've got 10 days, if you've only got a week, we tend to do a ridge to reef combo of staying at Blancaneaux Lodge and Turtle Inn. And Teresa, of course, and her team will help you secure your vacation of your dreams. We just like to know what it is you're interested in doing. We're going to start on the sea because, as I mentioned, the 2nd largest barrier reef in the world is in Belize. This is the seafront hotel, Turtle Inn. The Coppolas bought it 20 years ago, went through a massive restoration of the property. Well, really, they rebuilt it. There was a hurricane in 2001. Nobody was hurt. It's the last major hurricane we've had in Belize was that long ago. And because the Coppolas lost the dwellings and the structures that were there, they rebuilt the entire property to their liking. So you're going to see a lot of Bali influence. Belize has a lot of hotels. Currently, it doesn't have any quote unquote brand hotels. Four Seasons, Ritz-Carlton, the names we've come to know in the US, particularly when you're thinking about resort getaways. But what I like to remind people, compared to everything else you can travel to in Belize, we have more services and amenities. So Turtle Inn is just 27 accommodations on the seafront, but boasts 4 restaurants and 5 cuisines. These are the 4 restaurants. One right off the lobby, Mare, our main restaurant, Italian food, pizza, fresh fish. Down in the bottom right corner, you see Gauguin Grill, barbecued lobster on the beach. Up in the left-hand corner, our newest offering, just opened last year, our pizzeria on site, where we also do cooking classes. And on the bottom left, so you can make sure you have a total local cultural experience, Auntie Luba's Kitchen, featuring Creole Belizean cuisine. The setting is idyllic. It's very peaceful. You can see how close those thatched roof accommodations are to the seafront. We've got our swimming dock out on the water, and each of those accommodations is a private dwelling, whether it's a 2-bedroom villa where you might want to be with another couple or with your children. We're super family friendly. Or an individual cottage with 1 bedroom. You still have a lot of the same amenities, outdoor showers, screened in porches. And for those of you who might be traveling from very hot places, Miami, Atlanta, and you have to have air conditioning, we have added air conditioning in some of the dwellings. So that's some new information, as Teresa was pointing out, that we'd want to share with you. In addition to getting out on their snorkeling and diving, maybe getting Patty certified with our own on-site dive shop, there's great fishing in Belize. One of the things I find very unique about our offerings is all of those experiences you'll have culturally and adventure-wise while with us is going to be with our team. Every other hotel in Belize is outsourcing that. And the level of luxury isn't necessarily there in the details if you use a local dive shop versus the dive shop we have right on site at Turtle Inn. So that's just a small smattering of things that you can see and do. Monkey River, kayaking, paddleboarding, all those kinds of things when staying seafront at Turtle Inn. But you really would be a missed adventure to be in Belize and not combine it with the first hideaway Francis created, Blancaneaux, the one I mentioned where the location reminded him of shooting Apocalypse Now in the Philippines. This is just about a 2.5 to 3 hour drive, closer to 2.5 now. The roads have greatly improved, Teresa, since you were last in Belize, between the 2 hotels, Blancaneaux Lodge and Turtle Inn, so very easy to combine in 7 nights. Most guests come here to us first at Blancaneaux. We pick them up at the Belize International Airport. We drive them up to Blancaneaux, about an hour and 45-minute drive, beautiful scenic drive. They arrive, 20 dwellings, a swimming pool on the river, a separate swimming pool for adults only, a spa, And these services I mentioned are also available at Turtle Inn. We separate the adult and kid experience at Turtle Inn at the pools. And we also have a Thai massage specialist spa at both properties. You'll get a sense here of how green and verdant the location is of Blancaneaux Lodge. Again, intimate, only 20 of these thatched roof dwellings. Similar to Turtle Inn, they're either one-bedroom cottages for couples or multi-bedroom villas for families or couples who want to share accommodations. And within only those 20 accommodations, we have 3 separate dining experiences plus our bar. The dining experience I like to boast about the most is in the bottom right-hand corner here, our almost 4-acre farm. On site, we practice organic gardening here. My very favorite dinner is you arrive here, you're handed a cocktail made by garden ingredients. You tour that farm with the head gardener to learn about our practices. And then you have a 3-course meal with every single ingredient coming fresh from the farm. A true farm to table, it's bragged about in other resorts, particularly in the US, and it ends up being kind of a simple herb garden with maybe a few tomato plants. Here it's incredible. 80% of produce that you have on the menu at Blancaneaux Lodge comes from our farm on site. So why would I want to go? I've heard Belize is great for snorkeling, diving. Why would I want to go inland and up on a mountaintop? Mayan ruins for certain. Caracol being the closest to us here on the left. In the center, you'll see one of the cave experiences. This is Barton Creek Cave. That's about a 40-minute drive from the property. And again, our own archaeologists on site, our own tour guides, taking you out to show off these cultural adventures that they're so proud of as local Belizeans. I also like to point out for horse enthusiasts, whether you like to be on the back of a horse and riding, or you're a little one and you just want to go feed the horses or get on a pony for the first time, we have 17 horses on site at Blancaneaux Lodge. Then over the border, as I had mentioned, La Lancha, our 10-room lodge. So our smallest, that's not quite true. We'll talk about smallest later, but it feels like the smallest to me because it is in such an isolated location on the 2nd largest lake in the country of Guatemala. You might not realize you really can easily tie a trip to Belize and Guatemala together. It is very easy. It is a border transfer that we handle for you. So again, if you've got 10 full days, do the Central American Safari, which is what we call it. Stay at Blancaneaux, stay at Turtle Inn, and add on La Lancha, which is just about a 2.5-hour drive from Blancaneaux on the lake. Beautiful views, great kayak canoeing, learn how to make tortillas, but most of all, see the most impressive Mayan ruin in the world, Tikal. Star Wars was shot here. It is magnificent. As I see the people here on the temple on the steps, you just wonder how much longer are we going to be able to access places like this in the world? Or will it, become not as good for the destination to have so many people accessing it? I will say we don't have mass tourism here because we're so remote. So it's a great adventure for families. It is a great adventure for a single traveler. I go to Guatemala on my own quite frequently and go to our property, La Lancha. There's still more to see and do for me, and tie it to other destinations like Antigua or Lake Atitlan in Guatemala, a misunderstood, beautiful country and very safe. And I just can't recommend it highly enough. I should also mention we're getting more and more direct flights to both Belize and Guatemala from carriers like Alaska Airlines. This is kind of fun to show. We're going back to Belize because this is something new. This is our private island, Coral Key. By private, I mean really private. It's just 2.5 acres. Let's see if my video will play. There we go. 2.5 acres, a 25-minute boat ride away from Turtle Inn, a Robinson Crusoe experience, if you will. We take our guests over via our boats. They are greeted by the chef and the butler that are there on site to take care of all their meals and their housekeeping needs. The staff kind of disappears to staff quarters, so you really can feel like Robinson Crusoe. Take in the sounds of that water, maybe paddleboard around the island. There are 2 sleeping accommodations on Coral Key, a king-bedded kind of primary dwelling, this one that you're looking at now on the video. And then the first one was the more rustic with 2 queen beds and 2 twins. So you could take up to 10 people. Regardless, if you book it as one person, if you book it as a couple, or if you book it as a family of 8, the whole island is yours. You never book more than one party at a time. It's always an exclusive use experience. And surprisingly affordable to have an entire island to yourself. Obviously, we include meals here since you're so remote. If it feels a little too remote for you and you want to make sure you get out and do other activities, we can send our boats over to take you out on snorkeling and diving and other trips, but kind of a once in a lifetime, particularly for honeymooners, experience. Okay, now I'm leaving Central America and jumping to South America. Teresa, you might not even have known of this because we didn't speak to it in our presentations earlier because I hadn't gone to see the property yet. Francis shot a film in Buenos Aires, Argentina many years ago. And while there, why stay in a hotel? Why not just buy a home and make it into a hotel? And that is in fact what he did. Jardín Escondido is in the Palermo Soho district of Buenos Aires, my favorite neighborhood, very vibrant, very arts cultured, galleries all around us, cafes nearby. It's a B&B style hotel, so we serve breakfast here. And it's only 7 rooms. So this actually is the smallest. I started to say La Lancha was, but indeed it's this property that is the smallest of all of them. Then what's new at the Hideaways? Just a couple of things, because we're always adding, evolving, curating the guest experience. We have so many repeat guests. And when they come back, they want to do something they've never done before. So on the left here, this is a helicopter to kind of illustrate. We've added a new Mayan tour experience at La Lancha called El Mirador. I don't know if you've got a hotel anymore, if you don't have a pickleball, but we do have a pickleball court now at Turtle Inn. In the center image here, we like to talk about how much we do for local community. This is the Inspiration Center. It's a facility that was built in Belize. Any young person with any special need or disability had no place to go until a couple of years ago. So a lot of the stays that our guests have contribute dollars, and we match dollars to support a charity like that. And the organic garden that I mentioned, now we serve breakfast, not just dinner, and then at Blancaneaux Lodge, and then on the right, the pizzeria at Turtle Inn. This is something I always like to point out. Listen, it's fun to work for a movie director. It's so fun to showcase the creative details that he curated around these properties. None of it matters if you don't have a super engaging, naturally hospitable team, and that is what we call our Coppola cast. They are phenomenal individuals who are so proud of their countries and the local culture and the food, and they want to get to know you. I mean, it is very common for us to have our guests stay pen pals with our employees years after they stay, or come back. In some of our private villas on property, you get a private attendant, and they become so close to the family and the kids that every time they come back, they want to make sure Suselli or Wendy up in the corner on the left is taking care of their family. So I am going to pivot to Italy, if you will bear with me. And Teresa, while I'm doing that, if you have any questions for me on Central America, I'm happy to cover them.
Yes, I do actually have some questions. Talk to me about the all-inclusive concept, or close to all-inclusive, where people can buy like a mountain beach package.
Yeah.
And their meals and beverages are included, because that's my number one seller. A lot of my clients want to go to Blancaneaux and go swimming. In fact, my background is Blancaneaux. You can swim in the river, and all the cabanas line the hillside. And it reminds me of my childhood growing up in the rural part of Virginia. We used to go swimming in a river. We didn't have pools in my little small town. But talk to me about the types of packages you guys can do.
Sure.
Do you find the 3 resorts or even the 2 Belize resorts?
Yeah, between the 2 Belize resorts, we call it our mountain beach package. We find we are not all inclusive hotels, but some people just don't want to think about how much more money they're going to spend when they get there. So we can make ourselves all inclusive. So our mountain beach package is a good example of that, where we've added in all your meals, with the exception of we leave one night free at Turtle Inn, our seafront hotel, because we're so close to a super charming fishing village with lots of restaurants and nightlife and local bars. And all of our guests end up going there for lunch or dinner one day. So we leave one meal out so that they fit that into their itinerary. But it will curate the whole thing, from which Mayan ruins do you want to see, or maybe you don't. Maybe you just want to enjoy your dwelling, get a lot of rest, jump in the river on site, get some spa treatments. We'll make that mountain beach package whatever you want it to be, and we'll price it out with you, Teresa, with all the transfers, including local domestic flights, if puddle jumper flights are the preference when you land. So we make it really easy. And when Teresa is working with our team to handle any kind of a booking, my team is on site in Belize. Again, this isn't a call center. Teresa and I would be familiar with this in our business,
Yeah.
where you're calling New Brunswick, Canada, and you're talking to people who've never been to the country. You're going to be dealing with locals the whole time who really know, and I send them on these tours every year. So you'll hear the excitement in your voice when you
Mhm.
can on what you might want to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun to work with. Well, so it's real easy. Your company makes it easy to combine all three locations all in one trip. And if somebody doesn't have the time or the budget to do three, then we can narrow it down to the top two based on their interests. But I see you're sharing your screen again.
We're going to jump to Italy. Yes. I'm not supposed to have a favorite hotel, right? But this one is quite extraordinary, Teresa. Located in an area of Italy a lot of Americans don't know about. They're starting to know about Puglia, right, which is here in the south. Our general manager, who's Italian, prefers we spell it in the traditional Italian way, Apulia. But Puglia is near the Arch of the Boot on the water. We're not Puglia, we're the very next region over. But if you're traveling to us, typically you would land at Bari or Brindisi Airport. They're both equidistant to the region where we are, about an hour and 15 minutes from those airports. Why does Francis Ford Coppola have an intimate palazzo in southern Italy? Well, obviously he's Italian. His grandfather is actually from this tiny little village called Bernaldo, a working class village in Basilicata. What else would Basilicata be known for? Matera, which is highlighted here on the map. It's a UNESCO site. We'll see an image of it shortly. But it was very personal, again, to Francis to buy a palazzo in the town where his family has heritage and restore it. It took him a long time to find the one he wanted. He spent 6 years and countless, won't tell us, dollars on the restoration of this palazzo from the late 1800s. And he opened it to the public about 12 years ago, just after Sofia Coppola got married in its beautiful gardens. One of the things I like to point out on the upper right-hand screen, if you're an Anthony Bourdain fan, I certainly feel like there's a huge void in travel shows since he left us so tragically. We were able to get Anthony to Palazzo Margherita. If you are a big fan of the show, you know he really doesn't go to hotels that would be considered very commercial and not the type of cuisine, not authentic enough for him to cover. But Francis did such an authentic job with this location and the cuisine we serve, which is Southern Italian focused. So you're not going to see a bolognese sauce, which is from the north. You're gonna experience local cuisine. That Anthony came. We're on season 10, so the second to last season of Parts Unknown. Just Google it. You can even watch it on YouTube via CNN clips and see the multi-course meal that Francis and Anthony enjoyed there in the courtyard. But let me take you, sorry about that, a little further. Talking about the region again, this is Matera. That's that UNESCO World Heritage Site up in the upper left-hand corner there that reminds a lot of people of Jerusalem. It's got a real old world feeling because the whole village is made of caves. And up until the 1960s, the locals lived in those caves without running water, without a proper hygienic set up. It was actually considered the shame of Italy. The Italian government went in, restored these caves, provided better housing for all the locals, and now it is an incredible UNESCO destination with restaurants and nightlife and galleries. And of course, historic tours to understand what dwelling in these caves meant and was like for those folks. Again, about 40 minutes away from Palazzo Margherita. There are hotels within Matera. I would just say they're not the same level of luxury that we provide. And we'll shortly show you some images of Palazzo so I can articulate that further. That center photo in the top, this surprises people. Southern Italy has beautiful beaches on the Ionian Sea. So that is something you can access in the summer when staying with us. We run a shuttle every 15 minutes, or we'll privately transfer you, set up a picnic, or take you to a private beach club. We are near the largest national park in all of Italy, Pollino National Park. So hiking, not something I think of when I think of Italy, but God knows I could use some hiking steps with all I like to dine on when I'm in the country. Very important to us, again, that we're showcasing local culture. On the lower left-hand side, a 300-year-old stove and focaccia making. We take our guests to do that. In the center there, you'll see an activity on a private masseria working farm. That's actually a group of guests that bought out Palazzo Margherita. This is becoming more and more common at Palazzo Margherita, with only 9 guest rooms, 7 of which are very large suites. We sell individual guest rooms for individual visits, but with only 9 guest rooms, if you're a family of up to 23 people, you can take the whole place over and have a general manager, a chef, 4 housekeepers, a staff of 30 at your disposal who will create all these excursions for you. But there are a couple of excursions like this cave here on the right. There's no destination management company, travel agent. There's no one who has access to that cave except the general manager of our hotel. She brings her staff there, sets it in candlelight, and caters a dinner. We can't do that for an individual guest, but we can do that for someone who may have bought out the entire property, if that makes sense. And bear with me, a little bit of zooming around. That's that incredible cave experience. I haven't had a chance to do it myself, but the palazzo itself, I refer to it as intimate and grand because, again, it is only 9 accommodations. The palazzo was set on the main street of the main square of the town of Bernalda. The only experience that the locals can have to connect with our guests, other than if you're out strolling the street, is you'll see those umbrellas, our cafe that's open to the locals. But then you move over to opening those doors, seeing that central courtyard, the bar within the property, one of 4 bars within the property, the grand guest rooms. This happens to be Francis's suite at the property. The garden, it's a historic garden. The whole property is centered around, and the courtyard for dining. In addition to that, just so you know, we have a swimming pool. We have a cinema. Again, a staff of 30 for 9 guest rooms, and a general manager who is so passionate about the region that she will curate an itinerary for you that either ties you to Puglia with us in the middle and then you end at Amalfi, or I've seen guests check in for 3 days and extend because they had no idea how much there is to see and do in Basilicata. I highly recommend minimum 3-night stay so that you really soak up the region and enjoy the fact that we're not overrun by tourism in Basilicata. So that's just a few small highlights on Italy, and happy to address any questions on that as well, Teresa.
Yeah, I do. So let's take it from the beginning of the arrival. How would one get from Bari Airport to the property?
So from Bari or Brindisi, they're equidistant, but as you probably know, Teresa, there are more flights to Bari. We'll pick you up, a little over an hour drive. Some guests prefer to have a car in that region. It's a little less scary to drive in that region than it is in some of northern Italy.
Yeah,
the signs
less populated.
Yes, exactly. Either one.
Okay. And so what So when someone spends 3 days, what would the concierge do to create the itinerary? What would be some of the suggestions other than meander the streets and just relax and go swimming? If it's summertime, you can swim, and they do have great beaches there.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, first of all, complimentary for all of our guests at Palazzo Margherita is a pasta making lesson. So that's going to be one of the activities you participate in the main kitchen, which is where breakfast is served, very exhibition style, carved brick walls, quite charming. But there's so much to do offsite within 45 minutes. So we actually take our guests to Puglia. But we take them to an area to see the Truly that is not overrun by tourism, like, and this is wrong, I'm going to butcher the name of something, Albarello is overrun by tourism. So she knows pockets. And when I say she, I mean our general manager. So you'll see not just the concierge working with the guests, but the general manager who's from Southern Italy and is so passionate about architecture, art history, the national parks and hiking, food and wine, that based on what somebody's interested, I mean, you get guests that come to Southern Italy that don't care about wine. So we're not going to do a wine focused trip for them, but art history might be important to them, or archaeology might be important to them. So it'll be very custom curated. If you go to Palazzo Margherita's website, we have sections on just local nature, arts and culture. We've really broken it down based on what your interests might be.
And so is it open year round?
No, we used to be. I sure wish. I hope that'll change one day, Teresa. As you know, Amalfi kind of shuts down mid-November, November 1 till just before Easter. We've had to do the same pattern because, people tend to tie Palazzo Margherita to other things in the region. So we kind of caved and just said, we can't keep this little hotel busy enough in the middle of December. That said, if you've got a client who's interested in taking over the whole place, we would reopen it for Christmas, New Year's.
For a buyout, yeah.
Exactly.
They'd have to buy it out. Well, this was very insightful, and it just brings back my great memories from, I think it was 2002, I was in Blancaneaux and Turtle, and Mr. Coppola was staying there himself. So I had the pleasure of meeting him, and there were 8 travel advisors there on business to check out the property, and he was visiting, writing a script, and he joined us for dinner, and he was just loads of fun stories. I mean, he could fill stories for 3 days. So, and we were served Coppola wine, and just great memories I have. And if anybody is watching this and they want to go and they want to experience it firsthand, reach out to me, because I will help you create the trip of a lifetime on this, whether it be Italy or down in Central America or Argentina. So I will leave my contact information below. So if anybody needs any help, just reach out to me. But I hope we inspired you today to explore and travel the world. So until next time, see you. Bye.
Stay tuned for more episodes that will unveil new horizons and immerse you in the beauty of global discovery. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Until next time, if you can dream it, we will create it.